Welcome back to Jules Math Tools, where math is made easy. In this session, we are applying our distributive property, and this is part 13, and we're distributing a negative term to two other negative terms. And if you're ready to see how this is going to be done, let's get started. Okay, so in our session today, we're applying our distributive property. And remember that in applying your distributive property, that means that your term outside of your parentheses is multiplied to everything inside of the parentheses. So let's get started. So my negative m will be distributed to my negative 9m to my negative 9d. So negative m will be multiplied to our negative 9d. And then negative m will also be multiplied to my m. Okay, so now we know that we have a minus sign in front of our m, but don't worry about that. As we get through our brackets and simplifying our brackets, we will return to deal with our minus and our negative that we will have to work out a little later in our working. But for right now, let's just focus on simplifying our parentheses. Our first bracket, we have our negative m being multiplied to our negative 9d. And in this question, we are not only dealing with our distributive property, but we're also working with integers. And remember that with integers, when we have a negative being multiplied to a negative, our answer will be positive. And because I am multiplying three terms that are different, remember that those three terms will just be combined together. So we're going to return that solution back to our expression. And now let's simplify our second parenthesis. So we have negative m being multiplied to m. And so we are now working with our laws of exponents and our laws for integers. But let's focus on our laws of exponents first. And remember that the laws of exponents tells us that each of these m has an exponent of 1. And it secondly tells us that when we are multiplying, because their bases are the same, we're going to add those exponents together. So we have 1 plus 1, which will equal to m squared. And now to deal with our laws of integers, because I am multiplying a negative m to a positive m, remember that our rule tells us that a negative times a positive equals to a negative answer. So that means that my m squared will be negative. And I'm going to return that negative m squared back to my question. And before we move on, remember that we were also dealing with our subtraction sign. So we must make sure that that subtraction sign is also returned back to our question. And I'm going to put a parenthesis around my negative m squared to separate that from my subtraction sign. And now in our final step, of course, because we have two operation signs following each other, we are not going to leave our answer in that way. We have to simplify those two terms first. And remember that when our signs are written in this way, where we have two signs following each other, we are still applying our rules for multiplication as relates to integers. It's the same way with when you have your signs written in this format. It's still a form of multiplication. So we're going to multiply those two signs together. So we have a negative being multiplied to a negative, which we will make this now a positive m squared, or you can say a subtraction being multiplied to a minus to a negative sign. But when we have those two signs, the negative and the negative, or if you want to read it as a negative and the subtraction following each other, remember that with our integers, negative and negative equal to positive. So my m squared, when I write this back into my expression, I'm now going to change those two signs into a single sign of a plus and make this an m squared. And also I still have to return my 9dm back to my solution. Okay, so there you have it. We just simplified our expression. And remember that even though these steps tend to seem a little bit difficult, once you are practicing and getting yourself familiar with your rules as they um, are taught to you, it helps you with being able to simplify these expressions a whole lot easier. So, as always, I will always urge you to get some additional practice in, and I'll see you right here in the next session on Jules Math Tools, where the aim is always to make math easy.